warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And also, good day and good night, wherever you are. So today will be quite what I call is a very, as usual, we have limited time. We have to cover a lot of things. My approach would be, I will leave some to be read by you when I send PowerPoint presentation or slide presentation to the organizer. You can see that. But for today, what I will do is just to firstly reiterate some of the points that I have mentioned in the last class, and from there I will connect to the next to today's lesson, so that we can see the flow of our discussion from the previous session. Yes, we have already lessons, and I was illustrating certain points in today's week. In today's week, and my friends also have talked about this in terms of research education and ethics and sociology. Earlier, Aisha also talked about sociology, introducing sociology and the history of sociology. So let's see this context that we are moving on today. And as you could see, the first lessons highlighted the Islamic understanding of sociology and anthropology by basing on the premise that Islam is both a way of life and a comprehensive worldview. And this understanding has impact on our thinking about things, including thinking about society. Crucial to our understanding of Islamic perspective is the concept of Tawheed. Tawheed has been discussed in many ways, and in my context, I would like to emphasize the crucial concept of Tawheed in a framework of knowledge. It is the core in the framework of knowledge that provides a holistic view of man and human society in our context, and a holistic view of everything for that matter. When we reduce to our discussion of man and society, we understand that man in the context of Islam, or from the perspective of Islam, is a created being with certain purpose to be realized in this world, and therefore our view about man and how it connects to the other aspects of society, including the relationship between individual and society, is to be analyzed within this broad framework. So dynamism in Islam takes place within this fixed framework of knowledge, that is Tawhidic framework. Now, then we reduced our discussion to only 3 questions when we talk about Islamic perspective. We tried to answer the questions what, why, and how. Since 2 key concepts here are Islam and sociology, then we move on by looking at what is Islam, and I have elaborated that. And to highlight only one piece of slide, we need to look at Islam as not only as a revealed religion, but as a comprehensive system of life and civilization. Only by having these perspectives on Islam, we will be able to talk about Islamic perspective of sociology or Islamic concept of society and so on. Otherwise, if religion is reduced to certain confined area, then we will not be able to see the connection. As for sociology, I was highlighting about looking at sociology as an academic discipline, and since this discipline addresses human society or mankind as a subject matter, then we also look at sociology from these two dimensions. But what is crucial to be highlighted, although there were 4 questions that I asked, the highlight here is that what makes things Islamic, including what makes sociology Islamic. I mentioned about the crucial keyword that is Islam itself as a deen, and in particular, the teaching of Islam about Tawheed, Tawheed as a concept, and Tawheed as a framework, which consists of worldview, epistemology, and methodology as a result. And of course, when we look at the concept of worldview in greater detail, it will cover all these philosophical questions. Either these questions are ontological questions, or teleological questions, or epistemological questions. All this, to me, can be covered under one single term, that is worldview. Now, as for modern sociology, there are paradigms in modern sociology which are used to understand social realities and also social phenomena. These are the 3 typical ones. Of course, it has these have expanded, and there are other new paradigms developed, including neo-functionalism and so on, as well as the feminism or feminist approach to analyzing society and so on. Now, but what is the core of our discussion is how knowledge or science is to be understood comprehensively by looking not only at the typical topics that we have been dealing with, how are these topics and themes are connected to the other layers of knowledge, which to me is very important. And if we are to talk about perceiving the things from some perspective, is where we need to look at in a comparative manner. Suppose we illustrate the sociology purport to have layers, then I would believe that the most that is that would be from what we call ideology, the ideological basis of any knowledge. But other than ideology, it is the ideology that is responsible for creating certain type of worldview, which become the underlying thoughts behind sciences, including social sciences. And therefore, this illustration is a modest one where I try to indicate the interconnection between what is the lowest and what is perhaps the common things to us. So behind what we have been studying, suppose we are talking about sociology and anthropology, and there are typical themes that we study: culture, social change and development, social stratification, research methodology, and so on. These are the typical topics which form a science, social science called sociology, for example. But behind that, we know that there are underlying principles which may be reduced to what I call worldview. And worldview consists of course, among others, epistemology. And this epistemology is influenced by certain ideology. So Western ideology, Western worldview, or worldviews in that sense, can be said to have been based on the man-made ideologies. You call it whatever, secularism, humanism, and so on. Whereas when we compare to Islam, the basis of all this, the source and also the basis of this worldview and epistemology is Islam itself. So that's why I was saying that when we talk about Islamic perspective, then actually we are talking about what Islam says about whatever that we want to talk about. So if we, I hope by putting this together, you can see the different patterns in the development of thoughts, but including sociological thought. So on the basis of this, therefore, if we want to answer the question, why Islamic perspective? Why do we need to talk about Islamic perspective? So according to A.R. Mu'min in his work, Introduction to Sociology and Islamic Perspective, among others, he has mentioned, and I quote here, as an academic discipline, sociology has been overwhelmingly influenced by the writings, ideas, and theories of Western sociologists. Therefore, we need a careful and critical scrutiny of that. And he, that is the author, the Mu'min, is of the opinion that total rejection is not an option, and total adoption is also not an option. Therefore, what we need to do is to undertake a critical analysis of sociological knowledge in general and modern sociology and anthropology in particular, in order to unearth, in order to disclose what are the strengths and limitations of current body of sociological knowledge. So it is in this context that we are talking about the need for Islamic framework to guide us in dealing with all sources of knowledge of society. Yeah? And perhaps I put here one page of slide to indicate the flow of how we deal with the subject matter of a science like human society, the subject matter for sociology, in certain way, in certain methodological way, guided by or inspired by Tawhidic epistemology and worldview. And I tried to put all things together. And as I said, for lack of better illustration, I tried to use this frame in order to indicate how sociological knowledge can be derived and also constructed on the basis of Islamic worldview and Islamic epistemology. So I think we have done up to that point, and this is what I proposed, that we need to deal with the various topics in sociology and anthropology, the various themes in sociology and anthropology here in yellow, guided by the green. And the greens are reflection of what comes from Islamic sources. And as a social scientist, then we need to be guided not only by what is derived or found in society, but also what is guiding what can be found in divine revelation. So I think we have stopped at here. So now for today's lesson, I will talk about sociology and anthropology, or SOCA, in Quran and Hadith. But secondly, I will not be able to cover all, and as always, I will sum up what I want to talk about in slide to be read by you later. What I'll highlight today is only on sociology and anthropology and the reflections from the Quran, and the Hadith you will find later in the slide that I will provide to the organizer. So since this is a continuation of the previous subject, I will further elaborate the role of divine revelation, because when we talk about how we can have Islamic based sociology or Islamically oriented sociology, Uh, the simple answer on the how is by subjecting knowledge of society to this framework, Islamic framework consisting of Islamic worldview and Islamic epistemology. Therefore, here, the role of divine revelation as a primary source of knowledge of sociology and anthropology is very, very important. And what could be the possible approaches in comprehending societal realities or social realities or social phenomena? So this will be the lesson, the session to explore Islamic epistemological principle more and look at some insight from the Quran. Maybe as for the how this can be used for analyzing social issues, I think that given the time this is too much to be accommodated, then I will give you some example later. In the last lecture, I was also showing you how we move from revelation from the Quran to institutional level by being inspired by what Al Quran says, and then we what we call philosophy of an Islamic institution. And I was only talking about the philosophy of education in my workplace, that is International Islamic University. Now, so with whatever little time left to us, we are going to talk about Quranic approach to sociological knowledge. I mentioned about the importance of a framework. What is a framework? Of course, there could be many ways how a framework can be explained, but I have here a few points. We can imagine that as a structure consisting of many components, many aspects, and the most important part of that particular structure is the foundation of that particular structure. I will, after this, give example, or rather an analogy, to demonstrate to illustrate the structure and where the foundation is, and why is this foundation important in understanding the knowledge or knowledge of sciences. I stress that although the foundation part is very important, but this is the part that is most neglected because it is quite not quite tangible, number one, and elusive, abstract, and of course unseen. So perhaps the easier way for us to comprehend the idea of Quranic approach to sociological knowledge is by having certain analogy. Knowledge itself is abstract, and we need something concrete in order to explain what we mean. So therefore, the first analogy that I would like to share with you is I want to analogize or equate knowledge to a concrete object that is common to us, which is a tree. Already we have defined a science as an organized body of knowledge, and as an organized body of knowledge, it has many components. Therefore, a science itself is a structure. A science itself is a structure. It has so many components. Depending on how you explain the various parts and components of a science, I would like to only use a simple analogy here, looking at the tree. If you look at the tree here, what appears to our eyes seems to be very attractive in terms of colors, in terms of the types of trees, and the proportion that exists between the branches and the tongue and the leaves and so on, and even the fruits and the flowers. So that is a tree. But this tree is what I call it, this tree grows on, these trees grow on surface, on the surface of earth or soil. Yeah? And what is there beneath the soil is what we cannot see. Is what we cannot see. Whereas that is the most important part of a tree. But we are attracted more to what we can see. And therefore, most of the time, even if we know that the foundation exists, the root exists, but we seldom talk about the root. So therefore, in order to make it apparent to us, even something that we cannot see with our naked eyes, then I bring here one picture from internet depicting the whole tree, which consists of two parts, the upper part and the lower part. So the upper part is this part that we are attracted most, but whereas the tree has this one. So this is what I call foundation, foundation or whatever you. So in the case of tree, of course, this is what you call the root. So root is the foundation for the tree, but the root has never been or is seldom talked about. It is recognized, it exists, then, but it is most neglected. The reason is very simple, because this is the part of the tree that we seldom see directly every day. What we see is the upper part of the tree, and we appreciate, we glorify, and we things like this, the upper part. All right. So therefore, this kind of appreciation is partial. This kind of knowledge about the upper part only is partial. We need to connect our knowledge of the upper part to the lower part. There is the foundation. And it happens that the lower part is the most important part. And it is the most neglected one, unfortunately. So if you are talking about either Islamic-oriented knowledge or secular-oriented knowledge, it is the root that we need to tackle. Not much in terms of what appear to our naked eyes at the upper part of the surface. Yeah? So there is one. And we can also have an analogy of knowledge to a building. I don't bring the actual building here to show you how nice some buildings are, but all buildings are having two parts as well. So as you can see, this is the foundation, invisible, and lies below the ground and just beneath the walls. The immediate thing, sometimes immediate part of the foundation also is here, lies between the floor and the ground. So depending on what type of building you have and how tall is the building, so the foundation, the ground, there is determined by the type of building that you are, that people are constructing. The point here is this: either in the case of the tree, what appear here is what is built is upon certain foundation, and in the case of building also, the building is built upon the foundation. Therefore, the foundation must be the first to come to our attention if we are talking about the whole building. So what I'm talking about now is about the most important part of knowledge that we should pay attention most. And the rest might, at certain level, they might be similar. At certain other level, might be slightly different, depending on the types and the places and so on. Eh? Right. So on the basis of that, I again have come up with this. So most of the time, I was trying to indicate that this is the part that most of the time may not be dealt with or taken into consideration when we talk about knowledge, regardless of the type, the human sciences or social sciences or whatever. Now, why this happens? Because we have too overwhelmed. We have been too influenced by a certain way of looking at things by focusing only on what appears to our eyes, to our naked eyes, or what can be sensed by our senses. And beyond that, although we know that as a human, we have other potentialities in order to be used for understanding other realities, including ourselves, human, in a more comprehensive manner. So we are not blaming anybody, but somehow we have not been more told about this kind of thing, so that we can see reality in a more comprehensive manner. Of course, I know that the main question would be how to do it, and I have dealt with this in other occasions and opportunities. But here, I don't think we have time to discuss that at length. But I would be satisfied if you are already able to see this stage that there is another part of knowledge that we need to pay attention. And contemporary Muslim scholars have emphasized very much on things like this, worldview and epistemology, maqasid. So all these terms are none other than to connect science and knowledge to something that is very crucial, actually, in the whole body of knowledge. So even with this one piece of slide, it is enough to indicate the reality of knowledge that we have to conceive. Now, so therefore, although we are dealing with, or we want to study social reality, either man or society or mankind or whatever that we use, the terms that we use, but we must remember that human beings or mankind is part and parcel of the universe. And this universe is new things, created things. And who created this? Allah. So therefore, we need to view this in connection with the whole existence. And the whole existence that I have been talking all this while is can be reduced to this, that in the first place, nothing exists except Allah. Nothing exists except Allah. Then Allah creates, and therefore we have creation. And creation, because we are talking about human beings, perhaps one way of classifying creation is by classifying them into human and non-human. Non-human, there are so many realities, and within the human, and humans have been given divine revelation, and with this divine revelation, we are able to know not only about ourselves, we are able to know about God, about the other creation, and even about ourselves, and so on. So it is the revelation that tells us about other things. Some are in greater details, but most of the times they are principles, they are insights, they are guidance, and therefore holy books like the Quran is book of guidance, not a book of sociology, but book of guidance for sociological thought, which we are going to see soon after this. So I hope that when we talk, we understand that when we talk about human society, we must place our view in the broader context of the whole creation and the whole existence. The whole existence. Now, since we have established that from Islamic perspective, in the beginning, it was only Allah there. So the creation was not there, and it was created, and therefore it is only logical that we discuss ourselves in connection to who created us, that is Allah. And therefore, the whole of this is creation created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is in this context that scholars have discussed and talk about the many sciences and issues in society from the perspective of Islam. Now I mentioned about references that perhaps we can rely for now to guide us in this very limited time of presentation. One of the works that I have consulted is Quranic Sciences by Abdul Rahman. There are many chapters. English, but the one that is close to us is chapter 23, and the writer of the author sense and teachings of the Quran under the title sociology. So chapter 23 talks about sociology. So let us look at this into what Rahman has mentioned. The Quran has added new dimensions to the study of physical and artificial phenomena because it has also included the sciences which are dealing with social phenomena. Now, so in addition to what we have understood about society and man from the conventional and scientific modern knowledge, Al-Quran also has added various aspects or input, has given many inputs. And one of the important things is that the creation itself or universe is not something that need to be seen in a negative manner. There are all signs that lead us to know God. So here is where I think the difference in philosophy and epistemology, the Muslims look at existence, including the existence of the created beings, as signs of the existence and also power of God. So therefore, Al-Quran invites us, man, to study it, to study the universe, and discover for himself the mysteries and wonders, and endeavor to use its widespread resources for his benefit. So, creation is not our enemy. Creation is our friend. We need to understand them as much as we need to know each other among human beings. We also need to know what is given to us. And there is other creations or other creatures. So knowledge is basically continuous attempt at discovering mysteries and wonders in the universe. Therefore, when we study human beings, this effort is an attempt at finding or disclosing or looking at what are the laws governing the creation of Allah that we are in. So therefore, Quran takes man to God by means of his creation. So for Muslim, we look at creation, the universe. That study of universe can bring us or can lead us to God. So this is totally different from the secular perspective of knowledge, whereby you look at this as they are, and there is no connection whatsoever to the creator of what you study. So this is what I think makes things different and makes things Islamic when we talk about all sciences can bring people to God. Now, so that is one thing. Now, as for the sociology, Afzalur Rahman also mentioned about that the Quran is a book of guidance for man, and as such, the study of man and his social life forms its subject matter. And the Quran is a book of guidance, as I said. Now, therefore, for this guidance to be successful, it must cover what we want to know. And that is why in the Quran, we find many teachings that are relevant to man, not only for day-to-day living, but also to answer the questions that men might have in their mind for a long time as to the lofty ultimate questions, like what I mentioned. Many philosophers wonder about many things, which I will also show you after this. So this is what the Quran has done. It has studied and analyzed the fundamental principles that govern, influence, and mold man and his nature, ideas, values, institution, and even moral and spiritual concepts. So it is in this way that the Quran provides guidance. Then Afzalur Rahman has brought in some topics in sociology, normally treated in sociology, and bring insights or teachings from the Quran. So this is among others that you can see. This is another way of putting the same thing. But basically, as a conclusion, we can say that the Quran provides answers to big questions regarding human reality. So if we want to reduce to man and society as subject matter, then one of the things that we will look at is what are the big questions pertaining to man and society. I think this needs to be addressed first. In addition, the Quran also gives what Afzalur Rahman calls hints and tips here and there. So in the Quran, because it is a book of guidance, we cannot find one chapter on, let's say, social stratification, one chapter on culture. That is not the way that the Quran is presented to us. But we know as a comprehensive book, here and there it contains the insights pertaining to any issue that we are dealing with. And in this context, the issue of man and society. And therefore, even if we take the Quran itself, it provides light for us to further explore, as well as our Quran provides a store of knowledge for study and research in the field of sociology. I think if we take the Quran and then we take the universe both together, then we have endless number of topics for us to explore. But of course, given our limited life, then perhaps we can only focus on certain things. So these are the major themes in the Quran, in the book of Afzalur Rahman, Quranic Sciences, when he tried to look into the Quran, what are the verses pertaining to various themes in sociology. What I will do, I have already scanned this chapter, so I will send together with my slide organizer. You can share what our Quran says about family, what it says about education, poor and the needy. So these are among the sociological themes that are covered by Afzalur Rahman in his work, Quranic Sciences. So as I said, it is impossible for us to talk about each of these here. Then example of this you can see there. But what is peculiar here is the fact that for Muslim scientists, social scientists included, is the fact that the sources of knowledge in Islam. So it is not confined only to what we can see in the universe like this one, but also it includes this one as well. I think this is another simple comparison for us to see the distinction between the conventional perspective of human beings or man and society compared to Islamic one. So Islamic perspective will certainly include divine revelation, the Quran and Sunnah as part and parcel of this. But what? So these are the two broad categories of sources from where we can gain knowledge of anything, including society and man. But how are we going to use this? So we use human reason, we use human senses, and also other human potentialities. Now, here is where the debate over what would be the best way to gain knowledge about things, either Cartesian or other, is the debate over which one is more reliable or legitimate to be used for understanding things. The fact is that human being is a multi-dimensional being consisting of all this. He has human reason, he has senses, he has also other potentialities, which sometimes are much ignored by many people when they want to understand realities. So I think the integrated approach to understanding society, to make our knowledge of society more holistic, we need to use all these potentialities to inform us about that particular reality, human reality. So if we want to then illustrate this in this context, so therefore Allah has given us a Quran, and also through the Prophet provide further guiding operational things to us through Sunnah, and we, using various human potentialities, will have to study this and come to, and for now, of course, this has given rise to the various Islamic religious sciences, and this has given rise to many sciences. But we are unified in terms of looking at this under the same banner. The disciplines might appear to be different at certain lower level, but from the perspective of Islam, they need to be united at the level of philosophy, at the level of worldview, at the level of epistemology, and the engagement with knowledge process will have to be also guided by the ethical principles derived from this what you call this this way of looking at things. Yeah? So therefore, I emphasize very much on the importance of epistemology, because the concept of knowledge in Islam, therefore, is crucial. Eh? I'm looking at time now. It's already 12:38. Malaysia time, and I hope we have enough time. Now, yes, according to Mu'min, I showed you the book that is Introduction to Sociology and Islamic Perspective by Mu'min, and I quote here page 14. Summarizing the principles and premises of Islamic epistemology. Number one, man is differentiated from animal. Number two, Islam, of course, through Quran and Prophet, has urged us to seek knowledge. Now, I want to highlight the number three, because this is related to what I mentioned earlier in the earlier slides. Islamic epistemology embraces a unitary cognitive framework that recognizes that there are multiple and legitimate sources of knowledge, including sense perception, imagination, self-reflection, and self-introspection, empathy, intuition, and sorry, not divine. This is wrong. So this is wrong. So divine revelation. So in other words, there are multiple ways or methods how we can derive it, as long as we are guided by the broader epistemological principle laid down earlier. So therefore, if today we rely on the various quote-unquote sources of acquiring knowledge of human society that we consult modern sociology, anthropology, we also look at the works of Muslim scholars of the past. We also conduct our own research and so on. And we also have Quran with us to dig into it, to look at the teachings of the Quran pertaining to human science, human reality. So these are the available sources. But when we have made divine revelation as the guiding principle, therefore, the place of divine revelation in the context of knowledge pursuit should be the guiding principle or the guiding source. The guiding source. It is a source, yes, because it provides many types of knowledge, answers to philosophical questions, hints and tips about family and so on. Yes, it is a source of knowledge about human being, but at the same time, it guides us to use other sources, particularly in using the Tawhidic framework that I have mentioned earlier. And how to develop a science of sociology with Islamic orientation, I will just go quickly on this, and later you will get it from this one. We need to talk about human nature, and many disciplines have already focused on understanding human nature. There are many teachings, of course, but here I just give what is taken from A.R. Mu'min's work. I already mentioned about the Quran that provides a fundamental philosophical question, and it covers questions about epistemology, metaphysics, logic, ethics, and others. For example, if you want to develop a set of Quranic answers to philosophical questions, you may perhaps do like this. You have questions, and what are the Quranic answers to this, and so on, either about man, about knowledge, you identify what are philosophical questions, and so on. But what I would like to give here is simply some examples of this, where Islamic theories of human society will be based on the responses. I mentioned about big philosophical questions that philosophers ask, and I have already looked into the Quran or some Quranic reflections. I'm sorry that I have to ask you later to look into all these things when you receive my slide. So this is from what you call this from there are many verses that I have quoted here. Al-Baqarah verse 30, Al-Insan 1 to 2. And then when we want to answer where did we come from, Quranic answer, we can consult Surah An-Nisa number 1, and then also from At-Tin, and then all this nature of man can be inspired by the. As for the question, what is the meaning of life? We also have, for example, these are the questions about the meaning of life, and there are Quranic verses pertaining to this. So I just show you very quickly, and then later you can look into this. And another question is there life after death? And also we have all this. And in sociology, we talk about ideal concept of society. Either we already learned about Marxist concept of society and capitalist concept of society. Islam also has this. Okay, so I think I will just provide all this to you, and also how to reconstruct sociology on the basis of what I have mentioned earlier. Again, I benefit from the views of A.R. Mu'min, you can see later. And as a conclusion, we can say that the entire content of Quran are meant for mankind to know about realities or existence, and subsequently translate that Quranic knowledge into human life and activities. And this include question about God, reality, and so on. When we talk about society, there are also other big questions about man and society, as well as the specific questions about man and society. So this is what we are trying to do. But due to the limitation of time, I have to say sorry that yes, I want to convey many things, but I have to also give some preference to certain aspects only. But the rest you will get from the slide and also the reference material that I will send to the organizer. I think that is all for today, Sister Jaria. Thank you, and I'm sorry for taking the time.
Prof.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, but the participant also they enjoyed it, so I just let the time go on. So thank you very much, Prof, for your great presentation. And because we already past about 15 minutes, so maybe we cannot answer the question, Prof.
It's okay. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but for me it's okay if you can just answer one question because already we can see in the chat board, so you can answer one question.
Normally what I will do, I will just cut and paste and then later I will respond. But anyway, I will pick one here. Anything. So I'd like to know, how can this kind of Muslim scholarship, Islamization, Islamic approach model be promoted or applied in Muslim community within a non-Muslim or secular state? I think this is a very, very great question. As much as I share with you, I also have the same question. But anyway, slowly I begin to see or explore the various ways how we can do it. Yeah, we must start from ourselves first. For example, because we cannot talk about something that is big when we ourselves is not demonstrating the applicability of what we are talking about in our small context. So we move slowly from small context to the broader context. Now, perhaps I can mention this. Let's say I am in the International Islamic University, Malaysia. Of course, you can say that, of course, there is not much problem here. But I think still we have problem in terms of addressing the question of mindset, in the sense that we have long been influenced by the typical way of thinking about almost anything, including the way we look at social reality, and this is triggered by, or this is due to the secular mindset and worldview. And to deconstruct this is not that easy. Overnight we can do it, no. But I think we need to develop what we understand as the Islamic worldview or integrated worldview to be taking place first within our own context. And I can mention here, because it has been already officially launched by the university, that we are thinking of developing what we call the Gombak Integrated School of Thought in Social Sciences. Meaning that, what does it mean? The noble philosophy and mission and vision that we have at this university, we believe this is universally applicable. But for this to shape our mindset, we need to alleviate this to a certain level where we can call it a school of thought. But this school of thought is not like school of thought that we are talking about, school of thought in Islam. but like creating typical standard mindset among social scientists in the International Islamic University, Malaysia. And later, if this typical mindset based on it, philosophy of the university is already standard to all social scientists in this university, then perhaps we can promote further to other institutions and to other countries and to perhaps to the Ummah later. We are doing it, and we are now at stage 2. We visualize this to take place in 3 stages. We have started last year, launched in September 2023. Now we are entering second stage, and we are moving to the third stage to institutionalize this within our institution first, and later we'll see how it goes. So I think there must be some kind of strategic thinking and working from a smaller context to the broader context. Wallahu alam, I hope I respond to your question.